And now coming to Mumbai and Mumbai metropolitan region, this is a slightly old map and data. Uh, Today the area is about 6,000 square kilometers and much more, I think 1,200 villages, and population is more or less the same because that's a sparse area. And this is the new regional plan which came about, and we are focusing in this area, that is Mumbai, this project what we are talking about. So that's the background. And why Mumbai transportation? I think transportation in Mumbai is focused around travel and work. I think you ask anybody who's a Mumbaite, all he knows is that he has to catch a 717 local or a 533 local. You know, these are the two kind of languages which I also learned in Mumbai. Whereas in rest of the India we don't follow so meticulously inch to inch. But what I found is, despite the kind of the disruptions which happened in Mumbai right from 84, 92, 2005 or 1997, local train chalu hai. One of the first things which happens probably in Mumbai is the local trains. Hats off to the Indian Railways and the local operators that it operates on dot. And within about a week, Mumbai is back into action. So these are the private modes which is there, and these are some numbers which I would like to share. But what is important is these are the typical challenges which Mumbai transport has, and in that context, the MUTP2 was done. MUTP1 or MUTP per se without a number was started somewhere in 1977 when Robert McNamara was there, and then it's a different story altogether. We did some basic road widening, some arterial roads, and some amount of setting up of institution. So that's that story. But in this context, that is infrastructure bottlenecks, because encroachment, east-west corridor, east-west connectivity in Mumbai was relatively poor. SCLR, which is purely a new road, which was never planned in the DP because of the railway corridor at Kurla, which is a long 14 lines had to be crossed. So that was one which was a bottleneck. What really happened is these two roads, when it is opened up, it has created, I call myself that it restructured Mumbai. It restructured the real estate of Mumbai. So what really bottlenecks were there which opened up, there are opportunities which is created. So what we found that economic development is impacted. It opened up areas, public transports increased, private vehicles. So overall, you will find the two roads and the 4-5 corridors on the railways improved the transport systems. Along with that, of course, now we have the metro and the monos. This is typically Mumbai. I used to be odd. Back in 82, I was sitting at Dadar and Dadar station, and I was looking at people traveling like this. And photography then was banned because you have to take the camera. You didn't have the mobile. But I used to tell my parents, no, I don't want to live in Mumbai. If this is the way one has to travel, my brothers would never travel. This is another glimpse of it, that people along the railway tracks. And one area of inquiry, which of course accidentally I understood day for yesterday, is that you have a road here, you have a railway line, and this becomes a marginal space. This is especially around Sibri, Wadala, and those areas. So what I was looking for is that this is also an area which we need to kind of probably look at, when we are talking about, overall land use planning and overall resettlement. So all these houses, the back behind them, there is a road, or there is an access which is provided, or there is a boundary of another government agency. So these are marginal spaces which become prime places for informal settlements. So this is which, of course, when I saw this and I was studying, I found this as an interesting story. I said, let me also dwelled deep into that, and I did some Google search, and it happened to be yes, these are marginal spaces in Mumbai. And of course, transport. This is how we work. Sometimes we are jam packed for 45 minutes to 1.5 hours. And in this background, what did MUTP do? And I have put very brief kind of points. The two main links, east-west links, SCLR and JVLR, and building, augmenting the capacity of suburban railway, including extra railway lines. And what did this is these development, because of the earlier pictures which you saw, if a railway track or a road had to be widened, there were bound to be some displacements and few thousand families. So we have adopted World Bank's involuntary resettlement policy 401. And what are the implications of that? How did we follow about? What is the steps? And how did we ensure that people are happy about what they are? So these are the two links. This is the famous Powai Lake and IIT here. So this is connecting the Western Express Highway to Eastern Express Highway, that is NH8 and NH3 connectivity through the city. So I was talking about some of the areas at this location and some at this location. So what we were looking for, how did this resettlement take place? And you will find we have settlements here, and we have here, and we have some inside this area. So this connectivity improved. Now I find that they are also jam-packed, but the connectivity, which was very small, which started in I think 1962 through a PWD scheme, improved, and now we have I think a 40-meter wide road. That also we find it's the capacities are good. The other one was the Santa Cruz Chembur Link Road. This is Kurla complex, one of the prime properties in Maharashtra and maybe in India. And this is the railway line which I was talking about, which was most difficult kind of a stretch. The work went on for negotiation with the railways for about 1.5 years to put the girders, because the engineering specifications of the railways, the engineering specification of the consultant, the requirements of the World Bank, all had to be matched. So it took about 1.5 to 2 years. So people around this stretch were impacted, and we had to take care of it. And this is an area which is in controversy, and you will still find there are people not happy about it. What I call as 137 shopkeepers. So we had to take care of them, and prima facie, I would say that the business opportunities increase, and today you have more roads coming. And this is one of the things at Chembur. And this is again another scene of Mumbai, that if you have to plan, you have colonies, settlements, regular housing society, then you have slums, then you have this railway line running across, and then you have these kind of. So, and this goes to the Tilak Nagar terminus. So, what planning and expectation of people, especially when we deal with them, we found that everybody wants a flat, everybody wants a different kind of a setup. So there were some houses which we gave it from about 3 kilometers, but people were not willing to move. And then over a period of time, when we showed them what are the improvements which has been done, probably they moved. These are some glimpses. This is again part of the same SCLR extension at Amarmal Junction, which is a complex junction. And then these are few further things, that how these railway lines and roads are being built and how people are impacted. This is what we exactly did. The coordination and resettlement. And we were the coordinating agency, and I think there were about 29 agencies with whom we had to deal across the board, right from Government of India, Government of Maharashtra, then within Government of India, n number of organizations, and within the Government of Maharashtra, n number of organizations, then the World Bank, then inspection panel, then court cases, then all put together. I think what we realize is that we were responsible for the delivery of entitlements to the PAPs, which we did. And two NGOs were involved, SRS, that's Islam Rehabilitation Society, and Spark. They were engaged to do the baseline socio-economic survey supervised by us, and we have gone to the site and taken, and we had some access to data like the satellite images, aerial photographs. So we were able to corroborate and find out whether things are happening properly, because Google का उतना जमाना नहीं था लेकिन उतना नहीं था. So we did all this through baseline actual cadastre surveys on site and then marking it out. Of course, on a few occasions they were had to be updated because of scale differences when you do it on a plain table survey or when you do a DGPS survey. So scale adjustment to match the site situation. There was a case in which I was involved. Now we had dug the kind of pit for the columns of the flyover, and then there were settlements on top of the column, on top of the mud which was extracted. So we were not able to, then it went to the court and we said, look, the mud came later, the pit came first. So let us decide. And finally, it was a case which was not handled, settled in court, and we resolved it. So it was about a 7 to 10 years kind of a period in which the entire resettlement was done. And the point what I'm sharing is it's a very slow and long drawn process. I don't know how certain countries across the globe do, and people come back and tell us this was done in such and such country, and then rehabilitation was done in 1 year and in 6 months and 3 months. I still wonder. But what I hear from friends is that a vehicle comes, all of them are dumped, and about 10-15 kilometers away from the city, the rehabilitation takes place, and there are these social psychological problems which is emerging in those settlements. So using a model in a democratic setup, a democratic country, becomes not possible. But people come with aspirations. It could do it, so why don't we do it? We study, we design, we study the design parameters. We look at the construction technology. We look at all the other things. But the socio-economic and socio-psychological and the socio-political and the political economy, they don't match. So you will find that we enjoyed doing this kind of, and there are a number of PhDs which has been done in understanding all this. There are so many papers, some positive, some negative. They say this location has created opportunities for real estate. Yes, it does. So what? I would put it that way. But it's part of a planning process. It's not an isolated case. And we are talking about 5 years, 10 years, 15 years. So this is how the transformation takes place in cities. And when in the initial stages, because the models which were shared by people, that in this country this happened, people were put up and taken to different locations, and that's how the rehabilitation takes place. We found that we need to understand this particular part of the whole thing, and as a policy initiative, the entire resettlement process included the registration of cooperative societies, transfer of titles, and both husbands and wife, they were given. So what we did was the documentation, the process in India, in Mumbai, has to be democratic. So this was done, and delivery of entitlements. I'm telling you, entitlement and eligibility, I've spent days understanding that, but these are the process which need to be followed, and there is an entitlement criteria which is created, which is project specific, this is set city specific, and also looking at the local situations. So we need to be very clear that what are we looking at. And this particular assistance to economic rehabilitation with the support of the NGO, I would share a couple of stories at a later part. Then the key activities what we are sharing is that everything, since we were giving legal tenure, the land documentation, the process of land acquisition, the clarifications from the collector's office, all that was done very meticulously and ensured that there is no tenurial rights dispute at a later date. And the in the process, the last part, completing a post resettlement activities, I think this is the area, this one, and the support of NGO. I think that is the critical part in our entire process of this coordination and rehabilitation process.